Tokyo's Olympic organisers say Friday night's opening ceremony will go ahead without any major change, despite the sacking of the show's creative director. Kentaro Kobayashi was dismissed over past comments he made about the Holocaust. An investigation's been launched after 2 beach volleyball players from the Czech Olympic team tested positive for COVID. A team doctor who is said to have declined to be vaccinated also tested positive. China's ordered an urgent review into flood safety after 12 people died trapped in a flooded subway tunnel. More than 20 others have died and hundreds of thousands have been evacuated after devastating floods in Hunan province. And Norway's been holding a series of events to remember the 77 people murdered by the far-right extremist Anders Breivik 10 years ago.
In Beijing, Chinese health officials say China cannot accept the World Health Organization's plan for additional study into the beginnings of COVID-19. U.S. First Lady Jill Biden arrives in Tokyo as the leading member of the U.S. delegation to the Summer Olympic Games. In Hong Kong, National Security Police arrest 5 members of a trade union, accusing them of publishing what they called seditious material, including children's books. And in Madagascar, police say they arrested 6 people Tuesday, including a foreigner, on suspicion of plotting to kill the country's president.
One day before the ceremonial opening of the Tokyo Olympics, coronavirus cases are surging. Officials say the number of confirmed new infections in the capital on Thursday is nearly 2,000. That's the highest daily number in more than 6 months. Tokyo officials reported 1,979 new cases. That's an increase of 671 from the same day last week. New cases are also rising in neighboring prefectures. Across Japan, authorities reported nearly 5,400 infections on Thursday. Experts are warning the healthcare system will be overwhelmed if new cases keep growing so quickly. The Tokyo Games organizers have dismissed one of the directors of the opening ceremony. They say Kobayashi Kentaro made anti-Semitic jokes as part of a comedy act in the 90s. That comes after an international Jewish human rights organization took aim at Kobayashi's comments, which were related to the Holocaust. The Simon Wiesenthal Center said nobody has the right to mock the victims of the Nazi genocide. In the same statement, Rabbi Abraham Cooper said any association of this person to the Tokyo Olympics would insult the memory of 6 million Jews. Kobayashi, who was also helping direct the closing ceremony, apologized. He issued a comment saying his job is to entertain, so he should not have hurt people. People in the city criticized the situation.
It is regrettable and embarrassing for us Japanese as the hosts and for people around the world.
There wouldn't have been any problem if they'd chosen someone more suitable in the first place.
This follows the resignation of a composer who was providing music for the opening ceremony. Oyamada Keigo stepped down amid a wave of criticism for abusing his classmates as a student, including ones with disabilities. Organizing Committee President Hashimoto Seiko said she was sorry and that the organizers are reviewing the ceremony's entire content. Hashimoto also said she wants the Games to earn the trust of people in Japan and abroad. International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach spoke to NHK the day before the opening ceremony. He stressed the significance of holding the Games during the pandemic, saying they'll be the most restricted sporting event ever held.
The world is looking for a moment of hope. And these Games are maybe at this point in time the only really worldwide positive message. We want to send this message of solidarity, peace and hope from Japan, from Tokyo, to the entire world.
Bach said the Games were made possible thanks to mutual trust between Japan and the IOC. Asked about the fact that many in Japan are still against the Games, he said the IOC and organizers had engaged in dialogue with people to lay out the COVID countermeasures. Bach said every sports fan in the world would like to see full stadiums, But this time he said the IOC stands by the decision to proceed without spectators. Now the results of Thursday's Olympic events. In the women's softball opening round, star pitchers from Japan and the United States helped their respective teams get a second win. Lefty Monica Abbott tossed 6 hitless innings. She allowed just 1 hit with 9 strikeouts. The U.S. beat Canada 1-0. Japan's Ueno Yukiko was playing on her 39th birthday. She also pitched well. She got 10 strikeouts in 5 innings. Japan won a walk-off victory over Mexico with a score of 3-2. In men's football, Japan played South Africa. The South African squad passed coronavirus tests just 6 hours before kickoff. Japan beat South Africa 1-0 with a goal scored by young star Kubo Takefusa. The death toll from floods caused by torrential rain in the Chinese province of Hunan has risen to 33. 8 people are still missing. The disaster has affected more than 3 million people. Media outlets, including the state-run China Central Television, have reported intermittent downpours since Saturday in and around the city of Zhengzhou. The rain has caused floods and landslides and caused homes to collapse. By Wednesday, parts of the city had received more rain than they get in the whole of an average year. The rain let up on Thursday, but some roads are still submerged and littered with abandoned vehicles. The rain has caused extensive crop damage. Local authorities estimate economic losses of more than $180 million. Weather forecasters are warning of more torrential rain and strong winds as Typhoon Infa is approaching China's east coast and could make landfall. U.S. and Chinese leaders have traded criticisms over the airwaves and across the waters. They've argued about cyber attacks, human rights, and territory. Now, the number 2 American diplomat is heading to China to see if they can't find some common ground. Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman will become the highest-ranking U.S. official to visit since President Joe Biden took office. She'll travel to the city of Tianjin on Sunday to meet with Foreign Minister Wang Yi. They're expected to address some of Secretary of State Antony Blinken's criticisms of the Chinese. And they'll explore shared interests, such as bringing North Korean officials to the table for nuclear talks.
Secretary Blinken has said, we will compete with China in the economic sphere. We will cooperate with China where it is in our interest to do so and aligned with our values. And we will challenge China where we must.
U.S. diplomats have been urging Chinese leaders to change course on territorial disputes with neighboring countries and on human rights. The 2 countries are also expected to explore shared interests such as combating climate change.
The purpose of the visit, I think, is to begin a series of preparations that may culminate in a meeting on the sidelines of the G20 this fall between President Joe Biden and China's leader Xi Jinping.
Secretary Blinken met with Chinese diplomat Yang Jiechu in Alaska in March, but they took aim at each other's views of the world, and they're still at odds. Those were the main stories for this hour.